The crystal chandelier above table 7 trembled as the mahogany doors of Sterling Manor burst open with such force that the maitre d' nearly dropped his leather reservation book. Vincent Blackwell had arrived, and the entire restaurant held its collective breath. Every waiter, busboy, and server suddenly discovered urgent tasks that required their immediate attention in the kitchen, storage room, or anywhere that wasn't within a 50-foot radius of the man who had just entered. Vincent moved through the restaurant like a storm front, his 6'3" frame cutting an imposing figure in his perfectly tailored charcoal suit. His jet black hair was styled with military precision, and his steel blue eyes surveyed the dining room with the calculating gaze of a predator assessing its territory. The Rolex on his wrist caught the ambient lighting as he adjusted his platinum cufflinks, a gesture that had become his trademark display of impatience. Helena Cross, the restaurant manager, emerged from behind the host station with the practiced smile of someone who had dealt with difficult customers for over 2 decades. Her graying hair was pulled back in an elegant chignon, and her black dress spoke of professional authority, but even she couldn't hide the slight tremor in her hands as she approached the tech mogul. "Mr. Blackwell, welcome back to Sterling Manor," Helena said, her voice steady despite the nervous energy crackling through the dining room. "Your usual table is ready." Vincent didn't acknowledge her greeting. His attention was focused on his phone, fingers dancing across the screen with the intensity of someone conducting a symphony of million-dollar deals. Table 7. Sparkling water, no ice, served in crystal. The salmon, prepared exactly as I specified last time. Any deviation will result in its immediate return to the kitchen. Helena nodded quickly, making mental notes of his requirements while simultaneously scanning the dining room for an available server. The problem was that every experienced member of her staff had mysteriously vanished, leaving only the newest addition to the team visible near the service station. Sophia Martinez was polishing silverware with meticulous care, her long, caramel-colored hair pulled back in a neat ponytail that revealed the delicate curve of her neck. At 24, she possessed a natural beauty that needed no enhancement, with warm brown eyes that sparkled with intelligence and determination. Her black uniform fit her petite frame perfectly, and she moved with the graceful efficiency of someone accustomed to hard work. "Sophia," Helena whispered, approaching the young woman with an expression that mixed desperation with apology. "I need you to serve Mr. Blackwell at table 7. Sophia looked up from her silverware, taking in Helena's tense expression and the way the other staff members seemed to be hiding. "The gentleman who just arrived? He doesn't look particularly dangerous." Helena's laugh was short and bitter. "Dangerous doesn't begin to cover it. Vincent Blackwell is worth approximately $4 billion, owns half the tech companies in Silicon Valley, and has the social skills of a glacier. 3 servers have quit after dealing with him. One actually had a panic attack in the walk-in freezer." Sophia set down her polishing cloth and smoothed her apron with steady hands. She had grown up in the Bronx, working multiple jobs to support herself and her grandmother since she was 16. Her experience had taught her that bullies, regardless of their bank account size, responded to confidence and dignity. "Well, someone has to serve him," Sophia said, picking up her order pad. "How difficult can one customer be?" Helena watched in amazement as Sophia walked across the dining room with her head held high, her posture radiating quiet confidence. The other patrons, sensing the drama about to unfold, pretended to focus on their conversations while stealing glances at the young waitress approaching the billionaire's table. Vincent was still absorbed in his phone when Sophia arrived, his fingers moving across the screen with mechanical precision. The expensive watch on his wrist gleamed under the restaurant's warm lighting, and his jaw was set in the rigid line of someone accustomed to absolute control. "Good evening, sir. I'm Sophia, and I'll be taking care of you tonight," she said, her voice clear and professional. "Can I start you with something to drink?" Vincent didn't look up. "I already gave my order to management. Sparkling water, crystal glass, no ice. Salmon prepared according to my previous specifications. Is there some reason this information didn't reach you?" Sophia felt a flicker of irritation, but kept her expression neutral. "The information reached me perfectly, sir. I was simply offering you the courtesy of confirming your preferences and asking if you'd like anything additional. For the first time, Vincent lifted his gaze from his phone. His steel blue eyes studied Sophia's face with the intensity of someone unused to being challenged. Most servers stammered apologies and practically genuflected when he spoke. This young woman was looking directly at him with calm and wavering brown eyes that held no trace of fear or intimidation. Vincent's voice carried a note of curiosity that surprised even him. Such as, perhaps an appetizer while you wait, or a different wine pairing than what you usually order. Sometimes trying something new can be surprisingly pleasant. Sophia's suggestion was delivered with just enough subtle emphasis to make it clear she wasn't just talking about food. The silence that followed was so complete that conversations at neighboring tables actually paused. Vincent Blackwell was having what appeared to be a normal conversation with a waitress, and the entire restaurant was witnessing this unprecedented event. "You're new here," Vincent observed, closing his phone and giving Sophia his complete attention for the first time. "First week," Sophia confirmed, still learning everyone's preferences and trying not to spill anything on the customers. Vincent's mouth twitched slightly, the ghost of what might have been a smile. "And what makes you think I want to try something new?" Sophia tilted her head, studying his expression with the same intensity he had used on her. "Just a hunch. You have the look of someone who's gotten everything they thought they wanted and discovered it wasn't quite as satisfying as expected." The observation hit Vincent like a physical blow. This waitress, this stranger, had somehow identified something he'd barely admitted to himself. The success, the money, the power that everyone envied had indeed left him feeling hollow and restless, always searching for the next achievement that might finally bring satisfaction. "That's quite an assumption to make about a customer," Vincent said, his voice softer than before. "My grandmother always said that the rudest customers are usually the loneliest people," Sophia replied. "They push others away because they're afraid of being disappointed again." Vincent stared at her, completely thrown off balance by her directness and insight. In his world of calculated business interactions and superficial social engagements, no one had spoken to him with such honest perception in years. "Your grandmother sounds like a wise woman," he said finally. "She is. She also makes the best arroz con palo in the Bronx and gives unsolicited advice to anyone who'll listen." Sophia's smile was warm and genuine. "Should I put in that salmon order, or would you like to hear about today's specials?" Vincent found himself relaxing for the first time in months. "Tell me about the specials, Sophia, and take your time. I'm suddenly in no hurry tonight." As Sophia began describing the evening's offerings with infectious enthusiasm, Vincent realized that something fundamental had shifted in his carefully ordered world. This young woman had managed to see past his wealth and reputation to the person underneath, and for the first time in years, he felt genuinely curious about another human being. The collision between their two worlds had begun, and neither of them would ever be the same. The transformation their weeks had passed since that first evening, and Vincent Blackwell found himself doing something he hadn't done in over a decade, looking forward to dinner, not for the food, but for the company. Every night at exactly 7:30, he would walk through the mahogany doors of Sterling Manor, and every night, Sophia Martinez would greet him with that same warm smile that seemed to illuminate the entire dining room. Tonight was different, though. As Vincent settled into his usual spot at table 7, he noticed the slight tension in Sophia's shoulders and the way her usually bright eyes seemed shadowed with worry. "The usual sparkling water?" Sophia asked, her professional smile not quite reaching her eyes. "Actually, let's skip the water tonight," Vincent said, surprising them both. "Sit down for a moment. You look like you need to talk to someone." Sophia glanced around the dining room nervously. "I shouldn't. Helena will think I'm slacking off. Helena works for me indirectly. I own 30% of Sterling Manor's parent company." Vincent's revelation made Sophia's eyes widen. "Please, sit. Something's bothering you." Sophia slid into the booth across from him, her hands folded tightly in her lap. "It's my grandmother, Rosa. She's been having chest pains, and the doctor wants to run more tests. The insurance only covers part of it," and I'm already working double shifts just to afford her current medications." Vincent felt something twist in his chest at the worry in her voice. Over the past weeks, Sophia had shared stories about Rosa Martinez, the woman who had raised her after her parents died in a construction accident when Sophia was 15. Rosa sounded like a force of nature, a tiny woman with an enormous heart, who had somehow managed to put Sophia through college while working 3 jobs. "How much do you need?" Vincent asked quietly. Sophia's head snapped up. "Oh no, I wasn't asking for money. I would never. I just needed someone to listen. You're easy to talk to when you're not being terrifying." Vincent's laugh was genuine and warm. "I haven't been terrifying to you in weeks. And I'm asking because I want to help." "How much, Sophia?" "The tests alone will cost $3,000. "But, Vincent, I can't accept money from you. It wouldn't be right." Vincent leaned forward, his steel blue eyes intense but gentle. "What if it wasn't charity? What if you let me meet this remarkable woman who raised someone as extraordinary as you?" Sophia stared at him in shock. "You want to meet my grandmother? I want to understand where your strength comes from. I want to see the home that created someone who isn't afraid to challenge a billionaire and make him laugh at the same time." 2 hours later, Vincent found himself climbing 4 flights of stairs in a building that had seen better decades. The elevator had been broken for months, according to Sophia, and the landlord showed no interest in fixing it. But as they reached the 4th floor, Vincent could hear music and laughter filtering through the thin walls. And he realized this building had something his penthouse lacked: life. Sophia's key turned in 3 separate locks before the door swung open to reveal a small apartment that felt like stepping into a warm embrace. The walls were painted in cheerful yellows and oranges. Family photographs covered every available surface, and the scent of something delicious wafted from the kitchen. "Mija, you're home early," called a voice from the kitchen. "And you brought company?" Rosa Martinez emerged from the kitchen, wiping flour-covered hands on her apron. She was tiny, barely 5 feet tall, with silver-streaked black hair and dark eyes that missed nothing. Despite being 72 years old and dealing with health problems, she radiated the kind of energy that could power a small city. "Abuela. This is Vincent," Sophia said, suddenly nervous about how her 2 worlds would collide. "Vincent, my grandmother, Rosa." Rosa studied Vincent with the sharp gaze of someone who had spent decades reading people's character. She took in his expensive suit, his perfectly styled hair, and his slightly overwhelmed expression at finding himself in such modest surroundings. "So, you're the famous Vincent," Rosa said, crossing her arms. "The one who has my granddaughter humming while she does dishes and checking her phone every 5 minutes. Abuela." Sophia's cheeks turned crimson. Vincent stepped forward and extended his hand with genuine respect. "It's an honor to meet you, Mrs. Martinez. Sophia talks about you constant, Rosa, and sit down before you make me nervous, towering over everything." Rosa gestured toward the small dining table covered with a hand-embroidered cloth. "Sophia, serve our guest some coffee. The good stuff." As Sophia busied herself in the kitchen, Rosa settled across from Vincent with the directness of someone who had never had time for small talk. "So, you're rich," she said matter-of-factly. Vincent blinked at her bluntness. "Yes, ma'am, and you like my granddaughter?" "Very much." "Good. She likes you too, though she's too stubborn to admit it properly." Rosa leaned forward, her dark eyes serious. "Now, let me tell you something about Sophia. That girl has worked since she was 15 years old. She put herself through college, she takes care of me without complaint, and she's never asked anyone for anything. If you hurt her, I will hunt you down and make your life miserable. I may be old and sick, but I have friends in this neighborhood who owe me favors." Vincent's respect for this tiny woman grew exponentially. "I believe you completely, and I promise you, Rosa, hurting Sophia is the last thing I want to do." "What do you want to do?" Rosa asked, accepting a cup of coffee from Sophia, who had been listening from the kitchen doorway. Vincent looked at Sophia, then back at Rosa. "I want to take care of her the way she takes care of everyone else. I want to make her laugh and support her dreams, and maybe convince her that not all wealthy people are selfish monsters. Some of them are just lonely monsters who forgot how to be human." Rosa observed with a knowing smile. Exactly. For the next 2 hours, Vincent found himself sharing stories he'd never told anyone. He talked about growing up poor in Detroit, about his father walking out when Vincent was 12, about his mother working 3 jobs to keep them housed and fed. He spoke about the hunger that had driven him to build his empire and the isolation that had come with success. Rosa listened with the patience of someone who understood that everyone had their story, and by the end of the evening, she was patting his hand like he was one of her own grandchildren. "You know what your problem is?" Rosa said as they shared her homemade flan. "You've been so busy building walls to protect yourself that you forgot to build doors to let people in." Vincent glanced at Sophia, who was curled up in the corner of the couch, her defenses down in the safety of her home. "I'm starting to remember." Later, as Vincent prepared to leave, Rosa pulled him aside while Sophia was in the kitchen. "The tests I need," she said quietly. "They cost $3,000. But I don't want charity." "What do you want?" Vincent asked. "I want you to let me cook for you. Sunday dinners, here in this apartment, with my granddaughter and whoever else I decide to invite. I want you to remember what family feels like." Vincent felt tears prick his eyes for the first time in years. "Deal." As Vincent waited for his driver outside the building, Sophia joined him on the front steps. "Thank you," she said quietly, "for being kind to her, for seeing her as more than just an obstacle to overcome. Thank you for letting me meet her. I understand now why you're so remarkable." Vincent turned to face her fully. "Your grandmother is right, you know. I have been building walls instead of doors. It's not too late to change that," Sophia said softly. Vincent reached out and gently tucked a strand of hair behind her ear, his touch feather-light against her skin. "Will you help me? Will you show me how to let people in again?" Sophia's answer was to rise on her tiptoes and press a soft kiss to his cheek. "Sunday dinner is at 2 o'clock. Don't be late, or Rosa will never let you hear the end of it." As Vincent's car pulled away from the curb, he watched Sophia disappear into her building, and realized that somewhere between that first confrontational evening and tonight, he had fallen completely and irrevocably in love. The transformation had begun, and for the first time in his adult life, Vincent Blackwell was excited about becoming a better man. The resolution 6 months later, the ballroom of the Plaza Hotel glittered with Manhattan's elite, gathered for the annual Children's Hospital Charity Gala. Vincent adjusted his black bow tie for the 3rd time, his usual confidence shaken by nerves he hadn't felt since his first board presentation 20 years ago. Sophia emerged from the hotel suite's bedroom, and Vincent's breath caught in his throat. She wore a midnight blue gown that flowed like liquid silk around her curves, her hair styled in an elegant updo that showcased the diamond earrings Vincent had given her for her birthday. But it wasn't the expensive dress or jewelry that made her beautiful. It was the way she carried herself, with quiet confidence. No longer the nervous waitress who had served him that first night. "You look incredible," Vincent said, offering her his arm. "I feel like I'm playing dress-up," Sophia admitted, smoothing the silk fabric nervously. "Are you sure I belong at something this fancy?" "You belong anywhere I am," Vincent said firmly. "Besides, half the people in that ballroom are about to learn that we're donating $2 million to expand the hospital's pediatric wing. I'd say that earns us our place." The donation had been Sophia's idea. After spending Sunday dinners with Rosa for months, Vincent had started seeing his wealth differently. Instead of just accumulating more, he had begun using his resources to make a real difference. The children's hospital was just the beginning. As they entered the ballroom, Vincent felt Sophia tense beside him. The crowd was intimidating, even for someone accustomed to wealth and privilege. For a woman who had grown up working multiple jobs just to survive, it must feel overwhelming. "Remember," Vincent whispered, "we don't have to impress anyone. We're here to help sick children, not to play society games." Their entrance caused the expected stir. Vincent Blackwell with a mysterious date was always news in Manhattan's social circles, but most people were gracious and welcoming. Sophia began to relax as they mingled, her natural warmth and intelligence winning over everyone they met. Everything was going perfectly until Natasha Sterling made her dramatic entrance. Natasha was Vincent's ex-fiancée, A woman who had called off their engagement 2 years ago when she realized Vincent was more interested in building something meaningful than collecting trophy wives. She was undeniably beautiful in that artificial, perfectly constructed way that money could buy. Her platinum blonde hair was styled in elaborate waves. Her red gown probably cost more than most people's cars. And she moved through the crowd like a shark, sensing blood in the water. "Vincent, darling," Natasha's voice was honey over poison as she glided toward them. "How wonderful to see you here. And you must be the little waitress everyone's been talking about." The insult was delivered with surgical precision, designed to wound while maintaining plausible deniability. Sophia felt her cheeks burn, but before she could respond, Vincent stepped forward, his expression ice cold. "Natasha, still perfecting the art of mistaking cruelty for cleverness, I see." "Oh, don't be so sensitive, Vincent. I'm just curious about your charity project." Natasha's laugh was like breaking glass. "Tell me, dear, what's it like being someone's good deed? It must be exhausting trying to keep up with a world so far above your background." "What's exhausting?" Sophia said quietly, her voice steady despite her racing heart, "is listening to someone who mistakes having money for having class. You may have been born into wealth, but you clearly weren't raised with manners." The nearby conversation stopped abruptly. Natasha's perfectly composed expression flickered with genuine surprise. She wasn't used to being challenged, especially by someone she considered beneath her notice. "How dare you speak to me like that? Do you have any idea who I am?" "I know exactly who you are," Sophia replied, her brown eyes flashing with quiet fire. "You're someone who thinks cruelty is sophisticated and that other people exist for your entertainment. You're also someone who lost the best man in this room because you couldn't see past your own vanity to appreciate what you had." Vincent watched in amazement as his gentle, kind Sophia transformed into a fierce protector of their relationship. He had never loved her more than he did in that moment. Natasha's face flushed with genuine anger. "This is ridiculous. Vincent, surely you can see how inappropriate this is. She doesn't belong in our world." "You're right," Vincent said, his voice carrying clearly across the now silent section of the ballroom. "She doesn't belong in our world. She belongs in a better one, and I'm honored that she's letting me join her there." But before Natasha could respond, Vincent dropped to one knee right there in the middle of the charity gala, pulling a small velvet box from his jacket pocket. The entire ballroom seemed to hold its breath. "Sophia Martinez." Vincent's voice was strong and clear, filled with all the love he'd been afraid to express for so long. "You taught me that wealth means nothing if you don't have someone to share it with. You showed me how to build doors instead of walls, how to use my resources to help instead of just accumulate. You made me remember what it feels like to be human." Sophia's hands flew to her mouth, tears streaming down her cheeks as Vincent continued. "I don't want to live another day without you as my partner in everything. Will you marry me? Will you help me build a life that's about more than just making money? Will you let me love you for the rest of our lives?" The ring was perfect, not ostentatious, but clearly chosen with care. A single perfect diamond surrounded by smaller stones that caught the ballroom's crystal chandelier light like captured stars. "Yes," Sophia whispered. Then louder. "Yes. Of course. Yes." The ballroom erupted in applause as Vincent slipped the ring onto her finger and swept her into his arms for a kiss that made the society photographer's cameras flash like lightning. In the crowd, Sophia could see some people wiping away tears, moved by the genuine emotion of the moment. Even Natasha had the grace to look ashamed of her earlier behavior, though she quickly melted back into the crowd rather than face the consequences of her cruelty. 1 year later, Sophia stood in the kitchen of Rose's Table, the restaurant she and Vincent had opened in her old neighborhood in the Bronx. It served gourmet food at prices everyone could afford, with the profits going to support community programs. Vincent was at the stove, sleeves rolled up, learning to make Rose's famous era's con palo under the watchful eye of his new grandmother-in-law, more sofrito. "Mijo," Rosa commanded from her throne-like chair at the corner table. "And don't stir it so much. You're not making cement." Vincent laughed, adjusting the seasoning while Sophia plated the evening specials. They had found their rhythm, working together to create something beautiful that neither could have built alone. The restaurant was packed every night, with a mix of neighborhood families and Manhattan elite who had followed Vincent's recommendation. Wealth and poverty sat side by side, united by excellent food and genuine hospitality. "Mrs. Blackwell," Vincent said, sneaking up behind Sophia and wrapping his arms around her waist, "your husband would like to steal a kiss from the most beautiful chef in New York." "Just one kiss?" Sophia laughed, turning in his arms. "Well, maybe more than one," Vincent admitted, proceeding to kiss her so thoroughly that their kitchen staff started applauding again. As Sophia looked into her husband's eyes, she realized that Rosa had been right all along. Love really did conquer everything, but only when it was built on respect, understanding, and the courage to be vulnerable with another person. The arrogant millionaire had found his match, and together, they had created something more valuable than all his billions, a love that made both of them better people and a partnership that was changing their corner of the world. One meal, and one act of kindness at a time, the transformation was complete, and their real adventure was just beginning.